Okay, so we're back. Hopefully we stay on line this time. um, but you were saying, I mean, that's phenomenal that that what you're doing has been supported in the way it has, and I think you're absolutely right. You have this amazing currency with with people in prison and people getting out. But what I want to ask, I mean, is this going to translate into you working to change the way drug offenses, you think, are prosecuted and into the kind of recovery and the programs that you get in prison? I mean, do you see trying to advocate for any reform there, any changes there?
Very good question, Rhett. I think that my impact on the criminal justice reform movement right now is focused on going into prisons, giving that message of hope, that message about being a coffee bean, and the ability to change your situation from within. Because if I can give those men and women the ingredients of how to turn it around, how I turn my story around, and teach them that the person they want to be when they leave prison has to begin the day right then and there while they're in prison. And if they can turn that prison into a pot of coffee instead of the pot of warm water that it naturally is, then they can turn any situation in life around. So that's one contribution I can make to the criminal justice reform movement, is changing it in there. And that's what I pitch to these prisons and these private prison companies by bringing me into your prison, is because if I can turn around the life of one person, well, that's one less person that the system has to take care of. That's one less person that's creating victims out there. So you have victims that are saved. Their families are saved. The addict is saved. So that is one phase of it. The other phase is to be out there and teach the next generation of criminal justice practitioners the realities. And it's interesting you talk about recovery. It's a very big thing for me. Like in my class, the 16-week semester, I have one speaker to come in, and that's going to be my sponsor. I'm bringing in my sponsor, this drunk and drug addict that's in recovery, this ex-con from Boston that, is out there spreading the message of recovery inside of prisons. He's the only person I want my class to hear from the entire 16 weeks. And we're talking about a class about prisons, because that role of recovery is so paramount to the whole debate, the whole question, the whole conversation about prison reform. 80% of the people locked up have substance abuse issues, right? So if 80% of the people have substance abuse issues, they need a program of recovery. And that's where I think we fail. That's where I think the people coming out of prison fail. People that are ex-cons and people that are addicts, they fail because they don't have a program of recovery. And when things get hard, when you can't find a job, when you have trouble with relationships, what do? Do you have someone to fall back on? Do you have someone to talk to, a home group? No. You go back to what you're going to put the chemicals in, because the chemicals make you feel different than reality makes you feel. You're not dealing with life on life's terms. So today, those are my contributions. But do I want to make a bigger contribution and change the system legislatively and have more programs for recovery? You bet. You bet. And that's one of the things about being a college professor, Rhett. It doesn't pay. We all know that. Those who can do and those who can't teach is what they say, right? So I'm a teacher. I'm teaching. But one of the things that teaching helps me to do is, like I said, get in and try to inform the next generation of criminal justice practitioners. But it also gives me a platform to be able to get into the conversation legislatively about what's going to be the best programs. Because now it's not Damon West, formerly incarcerated individual Damon West. Now it's Professor West, just coming in and speaking to the Criminal Justice Committee about criminal justice reform. And let's talk about the better programs that we can have. Let's talk about the programs that are working and the ones that aren't. How about we hear about it from someone that was inside the prison and did all the programs himself? Oh, but it's still Professor West. So, right. Yeah, so you can see what I'm building towards here, because I think that Amazing. That every movement has purpose. Me going back to get my master's was in the hopes that I could build on this and become a professor one day. Just so happens that it happened right away. And a cool story behind that, and just the way the universe works, is the woman that called me, the professor that called me to come speak to her class at University of Houston downtown, is a woman named Lynn Rizika. Lynn Rizika was the lead parole voter who let me go from prison. She calls me up in August and she says, "Hey, I read your book and I saw that I was in the book, and would you come talk to my class at University of Houston?" And I said, Lynn, I'd love to hug you and kiss you and thank you and meet you for the first time. I've never met her. She voted on a file that day in 2015. Just voted on a file with someone she thought was, yeah, never met.
It's not like TV where you have to go in front of a
Some states are like that, but Texas is not. For most crimes in Texas, mine's a non-aggravated crime. No one was ever hurt, so they don't feel the need to have to actually go there and visit you. Now, some more aggravated crimes, murderers, rapists, that kind of thing, they'll actually physically meet with them and get a better feel for them.
Okay.
But for my kind of crime, it's just, hey, she said, you know what? And I asked her about it when I met her for the first time in August. How did you decide? She said, Damon, I don't remember your file. She said, I saw tens of thousands of files a year. Yours doesn't jump out to me, but I tell you what you probably had. You probably showed that you were in recovery, that you had a lot of support, that you were busy while you were in prison. You were transforming your life. She said, did you have that in there? I was like, yeah, that's pretty much what my parole packet was all about. And she said, that's why I let you go. So I spoke to her class that day. And after class, one of the professors that came to listen to this speaker comes up to me, Dr. Michael Kavanaugh. And Dr. Kavanaugh says, Damon, I heard that you have a master's in criminal justice. I said, yeah, I just got it. He said, well, we'd like to hire you right now to teach our prison class at the University of Houston downtown. How does that sound? I was just like, man, it sounds amazing. It sounds amazing to be in the position to do that. But there's definitely a big part of me that wants to get into the debate legislatively, at the legislative level, because that's where real change happens inside the correctional facilities. And bring in programs that I think, and maybe even be a part of going in myself on those programs too, because I do think there's better ways to get through to the incarcerated population, especially the ones with substance abuse. But here's the thing, Rhett, here's the catch, the holy caveat to addiction and substance abuse and recovery. If the addict is not ready to make the change, then no one can force that addict into changing. And that's the reality of it. So many people, especially since the Change Agent came out, have gotten in touch with me through Facebook Messenger or one of these social media apps and said, oh my God, will you speak to my son, my daughter, my nephew? And I'm like, I will absolutely do it. That's what I'm here to do. I'm here to try to help people out. But you may be the person I'm supposed to speak to the most, because you may be the only one I can help in this situation, because they may not be ready. They may not want to change, but I may be here to tell you that you are an addict too, and your addiction is your son or your daughter or your nephew or your niece. You see, addiction becomes a big circular firing squad, because here's the addict that's addicted to the drug, and all the family that's trying to fix the addict, they become addicted to the addict. They become addicted and obsessed. That obsession thing that goes on, they get obsessed with trying to fix the addict. You can't fix the addict. The addict has to want to change. And when that desire, when that rock bottom becomes sufficient enough that they're ready for a change, it'll happen.
Yeah, I think that's easy to fall into, though, isn't it? I mean,
absolutely, because you love them.
Yeah.
It's like that, like you asked me about becoming a parent, what wouldn't I do for my stepdaughter,
Yeah. Nothing.
I mean, it's just, and to think about what I put my parents through, Rhett, oh man, they're amazing, man. And my mom, like I said, they were talking, Channing Tatum had my book, The Change Agent, about a month ago. He had to pass on it. He has something else going on. Aaron Paul from Breaking Bad's got it right now. Look, yeah. So they've got a list of actors. They're just, who wants to do a Netflix? They're going to be a Netflix original series about it, about my life. But it's like, really, like, they're like, yeah, we're focusing on finding who the right actor is for you, but the one for your mother is going to be one hell of a role for somebody to play.
That's amazing. Hey, man, the last question I have is, well, because I had two last questions. One of them you've already answered. What do you want people to take away from the conversation today?
Okay, so that's a good question. There are a few things. One is that we are here to serve other people, and that's what it's really about, servant leadership. Find some way in your community, your life, your job, your neighborhood, your home, to help others out. One, it's the way it's the way it's supposed to be in the universe, the way it's supposed to be in the world. But two, you'll get a tremendous amount of inner peace, and you'll have this feeling of gratitude. And when you have a feeling of gratitude, it's impossible to be sour, to be mad, to be sad, to be resentful, because that feeling of gratitude is way stronger than the rest of that stuff. So one, I would urge you to go out there and become a servant leader wherever you are, because there's many ways to lead. You don't have to be great to serve, but you have to serve to be great. So two, I would want people to know that the power to change any situation, any environment, anything you're in is within you. All right. The outside forces, it's like the basis of the book, The Coffee Bean. John and I wrote this book. The word prison is never mentioned in the book, The Coffee Bean. It follows the life of this kid named Abe. But, in that book is that lesson about the power to change any situations within you. And that's really true, because if you believe that there's only 4 things you control and they're all within you, then if you focus on those 4 things, you can turn around any situation. And it may not be the results that you think they should have been when you were thinking you had more control. But when you get in line with the realities of life, dig deep within inside yourself. You don't go looking for outside influences. Remember what I said, that there's more people out there that are locked up that I've met out here in the free world than I ever met when I was in prison. More people are in prison by their thoughts and by their things than by steel bars and barbed wire and concrete. It's a fact. Yeah. And the last thing is that, look, you get to do this one day at a time. And, my sponsor would tell me, he said, whenever this was, I was in prison, and he would tell me there's a sign out in front of Joe's Crab Shack, Damon, and it says free crabs tomorrow. He said, and every time you go into Joe's Crab Shack, it says free crabs tomorrow. You never get the free crabs. He said, so if you're going to have these thoughts about, destructive behavior like drinking or doing drugs, or even if you're going to have these thoughts about, withdrawing into yourself and becoming a recluse and cut yourself off from the positive things of life, just tell yourself, I'll do that tomorrow. Today, I'm going to make it, man. Today, I'm going to do it. And tomorrow, I can be as grouchy, as nasty, and as much of an egg or a carrot as I want to be. But today, I'm going to be the coffee bean. Because if you keep doing that today, if you keep saying tomorrow, you'll never get there, because you can only live one day at a time. So I would urge people to just live in the moment and make the most of this day.
Well, I want to come back one day and have you on a panel and talk about some of the habits that we talked about today, because I think you've also developed a routine and some habits that I think keep you in that positive mind frame. And I want to have you back one day and on a panel on the program to talk about that, because I think our daily habits and some of the things that you've developed, I'd call them success habits, I think really speak to how it keeps you focused. It keeps you, focused on what's important and not distracted by a bunch of other things that can kind of derail our success. So I do want to do that one day, if you don't mind, because I think that's another conversation. This was what we were wanting to get to today, is your story, but I'd like to have you back one day just to talk about that.
I'd love to. And, my next book is really, that's what it is. It's going to be about 20 of these things. And it's actually a second presentation that I have with companies. I can go into a company and do multiple presentations now, but I call that presentation Position Determines Perspective. 3 words that I like together: position determines perspective. The experiences we have in life, how we see the world, depends on how we look at things. And but what'd you call that again a while ago? Success habits? Is that what you said?
I call them success habits. I'm writing a book about how we talk to ourselves. Mm-hmm. And I may have to have you contribute to that too, because a lot of what you're talking about is your internal dialogue that you're having.
Absolutely.
Right. And how important that is to your state of mind, your focus, everything else.
I would be happy to contribute to that. And I'll even contribute something that it will be in my book too. I'll give it to you to put in yours and run with it, man. Because I want this stuff to get out there as much as possible. People get in touch with me all the time. They're like, hey man, do you mind if I use your video that's on YouTube to play to my basketball team or my company or whatever? I'm like, yeah, man, absolutely. Knock yourself out. But but success habit, are you going to use that term? Is that going to be the name of your book?
No, I think I'm going back and forth right now on title. That's a debate.
Tough, man. It's tough to name a book. It is so tough.
It was called The Power Self Talk. I don't think it's going to be called The Power Self Talk. I think it may be called The 2 U's. We all have a warrior and we have a worrier, and so we're playing around with it. There's some internal debate, but the whole topic is it's about internal dialogue.
Okay, great. Well, hey, I'm in no matter what, and I'll let you know. I'll stay close with you on this on my next book that comes out, and let you get a shot at it first if you want to, get a shot at it and review it or whatever. I mean, it's
love it.
Love it. Yeah, you. And
Absolutely.
hey, I would love if you read. I'm going to send you a copy of The Change Agent. All right, and if you like it, and if you think if you could write a review on that, that would be huge. I would love if you like it. I'll let you take a crack at it, no pressure. But if you like it, I'd love to. Because here's the thing: if I don't ask you this question, I know the answers are no. So all you can do is tell me no to that. That's the worst you can do. I'm asking. It's like that Dabo Swinney, man. The only question you know the answer to is the one you don't ask. So, are you there?
He's done a phenomenal job in that. And I'm going to get some hate mail from my Gamecock fans on that one.
Hey, do you want to go when I go speak to the Gamecocks? You want me to call Connor and see if you can go?
I'd love to, but you know who I may send who might want to go see that more than anybody is my father. My father, a huge Gamecock fan, but we'll talk about it offline. But yeah, I love that, or my son who's getting ready, who's looking at colleges, and I need to maybe make a visit to Carolina soccer about that same time. So,
awesome.
But we'll talk about that offline. But absolutely, I'd love to.
Okay.
Love to do it. But
fantastic.
Okay, thank you so much for joining me on Power Lunch today. This special edition with Damon, and thank you for spending your time with us today. This has been a really amazing conversation, and I hope you got some powerful things out of it. You can find more about the show on powerlunch.live. We've got an amazing lineup this week. We've got Tracy Trim tomorrow. I've got Dr. Melanie Katzman on Thursday. And check out the show lineup on powerlunch.live. Until tomorrow, go out and do some good work, do good things, do good stuff, and have a great day.